Alright, so here's the lesson for Hysteria by Muse. Alright, it's a really cool song. I'm going to start this lesson off by first teaching you the bass part, the main riff that goes throughout the verses and the intro. I know it's not played on guitar, but when I play this song with my band during the verses, I always kind of just play the bass part on the guitar palm muted just because it kind of fills it out more. So if it's something you're interested in, you know, it's a cool thing to learn. So anyway, the speed of it is I'm going to play it over the metronome at album speed, so it's okay, so that's the bass solo played on the guitar. Alright, now there's a couple things to keep in mind here. So basically, if you're watching this from the website, you're going to have the tabs on the screen. If you're watching this from YouTube, I'm going to do my best to explain exactly what I'm talking about here without you having the tabs for the reference. But if you watch from the website, you're going to see that there's X's on the tabs, okay? And X's, as you probably know, indicate where it's supposed to be palm muted. Alright? However, you'll notice that when I just played it there in the demo, I was palm muting a lot more than the tabs were indicating, okay? The thing to note here is the X's are percussive palm mutes, okay? Whereas any other time you choose to palm mute, you can palm mute all the notes if you want. You know, you can palm mute some notes as you see fit. It's more just about, really, I'm palm muting to control noise, because that's what you do when you're playing electric guitar. You know, you're controlling the distortion and the excessive noise. All right, but the X's that are indicated there are percussive palm mutes. So you'll see something like, okay, you'll see how those are like part of the beat. Dun 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 dun, you know. Okay, so those X's are percussive palm mutes. So with that said, let me walk you through how to play this, okay? So it's starts out like that, okay? Open on the A string. Your whole first part is all on the A string. So it's open, open, 10, mute, 10, 12. Okay, and then you do another mute. Back to the 10. Okay, and then you do another mute before going to the 8, or before going to the 7. Okay, and then after the 7 you do another mute. Alright, and then it's 8, 7, 5, 7. So with the metronome it would be okay, so you see how sometimes I'm palm muting more notes than, you know, the tabs say. You can palm mute the whole entire thing if you want, but those, you know, those palm muted where they're indicated, those are percussive palm mutes, so make sure you get those right, okay? So that's the A string. Okay, then you're now down here on the E string, so you're going to be jumping in between the E and the A now, so it's alright, so it's open, open, E, and then 10 on the E, and then a rest, or not a rest, and then a palm mute, and then a 10, 12. Alright, then another palm mute. so this one with the metronome will be. Okay, so it's the same type of pattern. The palm mutes, the percussive palm mutes, are placed in the same spots. Okay, so that's how you play that part. Then the next part is on the D string. Okay. All right. So again, the palm mutes are pretty much in the same areas. So again, it's on the 10 and the 12 starting out. Open, open 10, mute, 10, 12. Alright, then another mute, then a 10. Okay, now when you get to this 10, you start walking down by going 10, 9, then 9, 8, then 8, 7. Okay, so pay attention to where those mutes are. Alright, and just one thing to notice here is these are all quarter notes, or I'm sorry, these are all 16th notes, and by the time you get down to the 7th fret, okay, so once you're at the 7th fret, that's when it's actually starting over on the, you know, if you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're counting 16th notes out of that 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4. So the 7th 7 and then open on the A is actually the 1 starting out on the next phrase. So you'll see that as I do the you know, once we get through the demo. But anyway, this part of the D string is. Okay, so then it starts back over. So played over top of the metronome, this will sound like this. Okay, so obviously it doesn't just keep repeating. I just want you to see how this all fits over top of the metronome. And also, for those of you viewing from the website, I always include slow demos and all kinds of extra things like that in my, you know, in the full versions of the videos. Okay, so you know, I'm going to refer to it, but it's not going to be posted on the version on YouTube. Okay. So anyway, the whole thing would sound like this. So I was trying purposely not to palm mute any extra notes because I wanted to, you know, I wanted to be clear on where the percussive palm mutes are taking place at. However, if I were to actually be playing this live, there would be a lot more palm muting. I would actually play it more like this. Okay, so that's what it sounds like up to album speed. Okay, so now I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play a slow version of it, probably about 20 BPM slower. But again, I'm sorry, I don't include the full videos on YouTube, but I do include a lot on YouTube. But for those viewing from the website, I'm gonna play that slow right now. Okay, so here's the slow version of this bass intro for you. Now keep in mind, like I said, once you're on the D string, once it gets down to the 7th fret, the 7th fret is actually the start of the 1. Okay, and you'll know the sound of the 1 because the 1 has a different sound than the 2, 3, and the 4. Ready? Okay, so that sound is the sound of the 1. It's slightly different, okay? So just keep that in mind. So here it is. So that is the bass intro played at about 20 BPM slower or maybe more. All right. Okay, so here's the actual intro of the song where the guitar actually comes in. All right, so this starts out with just the guitar doing a pick slide. I usually do it on the A string. Okay, just a basic pick slide. And then it comes in, and basically it does a series of these octaves. So, you know, if you don't know what an octave is, it's where you put your first finger on, these are all taking place on the A and the G string, okay? So your first finger would go on a fret of the A string, and then your third finger would go, you skip a string and then go down to the G string, and then you skip a fret. Okay, so 12 and 14, 12 on the A, 14 on the G, and you mute the D string with the meat of your first finger. So you have, okay, so it's going to do one of those on the 12th fret, 12th and 14, and then 11 and 13, and then 9, I'm sorry, and then 8 and 10, and then 7 and 9. Okay, but in between each one of those, it's going to go. Okay, so what that's doing is it's doing a half step bend on the 12th fret of the B string, and then coming down and hitting the 14th fret of the G string. Okay, so it's, and then it switches to the next chord. So it's dan and dan. So that's 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, now when it's on the last one, it does a double bend release. It goes, all right, and then it hits a real quick 14. Okay, so that's kind of hard to hit that 14 and start back over on that first one again. So if you do happen to miss that, it's not going to be that apparent because it's so fast. Okay, see how fast that comes in? All right, so the whole thing would be. Okay, and then it just goes back into the verse, which is where the bass is doing the bass intro. And when I play this live with my band, I would always kind of play the bass intro on the guitar. So that's kind of why I showed you that last part, okay? So that's it for the guitar intro. Next part we have is the chorus. Alright, so here we have the chorus of the song, and the chorus is pretty easy. The only tricky part of the chorus really is coming out of the chorus, because it kind of goes back into another one of the... Okay, so it kind of comes out doing that stuff, alright? But it's really just 4 chords for the most part. So it starts off by building up on this A power chord here on the 5th fret, E string. Alright, And then you can do a series of power chords here. You can do the C power chord, 3rd fret, and then a G power chord, and then a D power chord, and then an A power chord. Alright, so you can play full chords too if you want. You can play the C major chord to a G major chord to a D minor chord to an A minor chord. Okay, so personally when I play this, I like to play the C power chord, the G power chord, then I like to play the full D minor chord, okay, and then I like to play the just the A power chord, because I just like the sound of that D minor, so I like going. Okay, but you can always make any of these full chords if you want. You can make them a full C chord here, you can make it a full G major chord here. Sometimes I might even like to do mostly power chords, except when it's the G, you know, do a G chord, so. Okay, so it really depends on, it's just a matter of feel. So you could do all power chords, you can do some power chords, some major minor, or you can do all major minor. Alright, it's really up to you and how you're feeling when you're playing the song, alright? So that's that. And then it goes around the chord progression once, and then the second time when it goes around the chord progression, it goes C, G, D, but instead of going to the A, it goes to. Okay, very similar rhythm to what we went over in the bass intro. So it's on the E string. Okay. Okay. Alright, so playing the whole chorus, it would be. After it does that, it goes back into the. Alright, so that's pretty much it for the chorus. Not too bad. Alright, the next part would be the breakdown, which is also pretty similar to what we've been doing in the bass intro. Okay, so here's the breakdown part of the song. Now this occurs right after the second chorus, leading right into the solo, and this also occurs at the very end of the song. This is how the song ends. Alright, so the rhythm is, you know, very, very similar to what we went over in the bass intro. It's all on the E string. Okay, so it's open, open, 10, and then you do your first mute. Okay, so just pay attention to those. If you're watching from the website, pay attention to where those X's are, because those are the rhythmic palm mutes. Alright, and again, it's once you're at the 7 that starts over the 1, okay? Okay, playing it with the metronome. Okay, see how once I'm at that 7, that's when the 1 is starting again, okay? So it does that 3 times, and then on the last one it goes. Okay, which is kind of how, or which is the same way that the chorus ends. All right, so we went over that in the last section, and it's also the same thing as what we went over in the bass intro. Okay, so a lot of this stuff is repeated and just kind of mixed together. All right, so that's pretty much it for how the breakdown goes. So the whole thing would sound like this. All right, now, and then it goes into the solo, and that's that. All right, so let's do the solo next. Okay, so this is the final part of the song here. This is the solo, and after the solo it goes right back into the chorus, and then after the chorus it goes into the breakdown part again, and that's the end of the song. So this is the last part that we need to go over. So basically the rhythm that's going on underneath the solo, the first half of the solo is played over the bass intro. That whole thing that we went over at first. Then the second half of the solo is played over the chorus chords, which is just the C to the G to the D to the A, okay? So that's the rhythm, all right? And as far as how the lead goes, the lead is not incredibly difficult. It starts out on the 14th fret here of the G string, and then it goes up to the 17th fret of the B string. So it goes, and then back to the 14 twice, and then to the 18 of the B. Okay? So if you're watching this from the website, the tabs are on the screen. Just do exactly as the tabs say, okay? Okay, so it's... Okay, that's the first part. The second time around it goes to the 13th fret, 13 on the G, and then still 17 on the B and 18 on the B. Okay, but it doesn't go back to the 17. So on the first time it goes at the end of the phrase. So the first one is... See how it goes back to that 17 on the B? Then once the first finger slides down to the 13th fret, it doesn't do that. It goes... Okay, so it just hits a double 13. Alright, and then the next one around is 14 on the G, and then 18 on the B, and then 17 on the E. Okay, so it's... Alright, see how it does that there? Okay, and then it goes back to the first one. Okay, and now played over the rhythm of the... We're up to there. Now the very last one of these before it switches to the next part, it goes 17 on the B, 14 on the G, so one hit on the B, 3 hits on the G, and then 15th fret of the B, and then 15th fret of the D, same thing, 1 hit and then 3 hits. So, okay, and then 17 on the G, 14 on the D, and then 16 on the G, 12 on the D. Okay, so that whole thing would be alright. Alright, so the whole solo up till there, which is where it switches the rhythms, would be so not too bad. All right, it's just a matter of just memorizing these, you know, these little shapes, you know, and the actual playing of it is not too difficult. It's just memorizing, you know, like when do I go to the 14, when do I go to the 13, when do I go to the 18, and it just comes over, you know, just practicing it a few times. All right, so the second part is just a series of arpeggios. All right, so as I said, the rhythm chords are C, all right, which is actually a C major because we're in the key of this song right now is in the key of A minor. All right, so the chords would be a C major, to a G major, to a D minor, to an A minor. Okay, so the first arpeggio is a C major arpeggio. Okay, and it comes from the C shape. Okay, and then the next one is a G major arpeggio. It's coming from the G shape. Okay, these shapes are just the same as playing them down here, as if you had a capo on the 12th fret. Okay, so you're playing a C chord, you're playing a G chord, then the next chord is a D minor chord. All right, and that's actually playing not exactly the open D minor shape, but it's okay. These are all notes from the D minor arpeggio, and the last one is an A minor arpeggio. Okay, so again, this is like an A minor chord. If you were playing it down here, it's the same type of thing. Okay, so I don't know if you're interested in the theory or not, but that might make it a little easier for you if you can think in terms of chords. That way it's a lot easier than just simply remembering fret numbers and strings and stuff. Okay, so if you can actually relate it to the actual chord, it may help you out a little bit. Or you can just kind of just read the tabs and do it that way, whichever you prefer. So this part starts out by going, okay, so it's 13th fret of the B string, 12th fret of the G string, 14th fret of the D. Okay, and then it goes to the same three strings. Okay, so it's 13, 12 on the B, and then 14 on the G, and then back to the 12. Okay, so far we have. Alright, and then it goes up to the 15th fret of the B string with a little lead in there, you know, 12, 13 on the B, up to the 15, and then 14 of the G, and then 15 of the D. Alright, and then the last part is 15, 13, 12 of the B. Okay, and then it goes, okay, 13 of the B, 14 of the G, 14 of the D. Alright, so it's all just playing around those arpeggio shapes, okay? Alright, so, I mean, if you were to write the solo yourself, you could come up with something very similar if you were to understand these arpeggio shapes, okay? Okay, it's all right there in those arpeggios, but he's really just kind of playing on those three strings, and that's what gives it the sound, okay? Then the second time around, basically the same thing. The only difference is once it gets to the D minor arpeggio, he kind of bends this 13th fret of the B string, and then down to the 15th fret of the D. So the second time around would sound like this. See, I just kind of bent that there. It's a full step bend. It's bending up to the 15th fret of the B string. So it's the same thing as going, only it's going. Alright? And, I mean, you can do this exactly note for note as the tabs say, or you can just kind of feel it out, you know? Just kind of understand these arpeggios and just kind of, I do a lot of different things when I play this live. I kind of do little hammer pulls. You know, I kind of add little things in there and stuff like that. So the important thing is the arpeggio shapes. So the whole solo would sound like this. Back into the chorus. Alright, so I don't think anything in this solo is incredibly difficult as far as phrasing goes. It's more of just an understanding what notes to play and memorizing the shapes and arpeggios and whatnot. But I'm not going to play a slow version of this because there's no super fast phrases that need to be broken down or anything, okay? So that's pretty much it. That's the whole entire song. That's the solo section. We went through the breakdown, we went through the chorus, we went through the bass intro. If I left anything out, feel free to hit me up with any questions, and I'll be glad to answer them. All right, thanks for watching.